Notion have just released their version 3.0. Arguably the biggest and best update that Notion has ever had. The offline modes, granular sharing permissions, AI formulas, and now AI agents. I won't lie, I'm absolutely buzzing of the direction that the company's going, but that doesn't mean there's not going to be flaws to begin with when these things are released. I've watched basically all the videos on the agents so far of what's been created, and everyone is celebrating it as though it is the absolute biggest game changer of Notion completely. So I want to see it from a business perspective, where if you were using the system yourself and you were building it yourself, how good actually is it currently, and would you be able to create it that it would do effective work efficiently without actually you having to go back and forth all the time? Also looking to scale your business with systems and operations, I've got a newsletter that will be perfect for you, and it will take you through exactly how to do that. The first link is in the description. We're going to follow just a really simple path with this. We're going to build how we want to create this agent. We're then going to build the agent itself. We're going to connect it to the relevant databases that we're wanting to, and then we're going to test sort of how it gets on with actually adding those things in. And I'm going to use a duplicated version of just one of my systems that I use in order to actually test this and to see how it's going. I won't lie, I shot a 45-minute video going through the agents and the whole process, and my audio corrupted. And I've got High Rocks on Saturday and I'm going to Rome, so I don't have the time to reshoot another video and get it uploaded in time to do so. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to run through that 45-minute process and what I've done in order to get my agent to work, and the things that I learned through actually doing it, because when I was building that agent, that was the first time I was actually doing it at all. So I learned a little bit about what was going on. I'll put some overlays on the screen as well when I was actually going through this process and what it would look like for you to do it. Just as a caveat right away, you need the business plan or plus in order to actually get access to these agents and use them. So if you're on the plus plan or if you're on the starter plan, you're not going to be able to get these. But my recommendation is that if you're a business owner and you're using this for your business as your operating system as a whole, the business plan is well worth it. You can connect it to a lot of different apps. You can connect it to a lot of different spaces. I genuinely think it's one of the best things that you can get for your business, especially for the cost. The first thing that we'd done was we actually got 3 separate YouTubers who had created videos on these agents. The other day, I used AI to create the whole system that I was going to do. So I first wanted to put a whole process into the AI inside of Notion itself and use those transcripts to help me build out what I would need to make the agent work as best as I can. Again, the reason for me doing that whole process was to basically show someone that doesn't have all the knowledge on systems building their first agent and actually using it themselves. Once it done that, it actually gave me my full Notion AI page. The only thing that I really had to change was given access to the relevant databases that I wanted it to have access to. I think it's important to understand with AI agents and AI workflows is the difference between them. AI workflows can usually be seen as some sort of conveyor belt where you're using AI inside of your already existing processes to help you with decision making based on the specifications that you give it. AI agents are more of that real-time ability to think about what's going on from the questions that you're asking. This can also work in multi-step processes, but AI workflows can do that as well. I think it's just important to understand the difference that both of them can be used in different ways, but inside of Notion, currently it's only the agents that are actually available. Things like workflows would be done in something like Make or NAN. Inside of that page, it genuinely was pretty good and quite thorough on what I needed to do. Inside of your chat of AI, this is where you would put all of your specifications and actually add to it. But inside the video itself, I didn't do any of that. At the end of the day, if you are someone that's wanting to try it out for the first time and see if it's going to work for your business, you're probably not going to spend 4 hours researching AI agents and how to make them work as best for you. I wanted to see if we just used AI and just kind of copied everything into it, could it do what I wanted it to do? Inside here was things like style guides and modes that it could select, because right now Notion only has one AI agent that you can create or use at that one time instead of multiple. Unlike other platforms where you would maybe create a personal assistant agent, a content agent, and you would talk to that one directly for what you were wanting to do. In Notion instead, you would create different modes or different agents inside of your AI settings. So that means that you could have your productivity coach or your personal assistant, and it would search for which one it believes that it would fit best based on what you're going to be asking it. This is where I'd done my first original test, where it was essentially just to add tasks to specific databases. And that would obviously find my personal assistant and then add those tasks to that database with my specifications. And in all honesty, it actually worked really well and was pretty straightforward. I think one of the biggest issues I have when YouTubers talk about these things though, that these things things would actually just be as quick as putting them in your own Notion system itself rather than asking AI to do it. That's where I sometimes have the issue with the people who create videos on these things, because they speak as though that you can't go and do this yourself in the exact same amount of time. Why automatic workflows and automatic agents can be really, really powerful when they would be released in the future. If you're wanting to help you with your own Notion workspace and you're wanting to scale your team through Notion as your operating system, then click the link in the description to book a call with me and we can chat more about what you're aiming for. To put it a step further, I wanted to see then if it could grab information that I'd already had from my meetings in that week and then turn it into content and potential hooks that I could use for that content based on the context that it gets. Because that's something that does become a little bit more complicated and something that does actually have more weight to it. And again, just like before, I was actually able to do it pretty well. It took my specific calls that I had in that week, because I'd already connected the calls database to give it access to. And then it was able to pull in some pretty decent hooks for what I was doing. I spent a few hours creating a content agent who could help actually use my tone of voice and use my humor and use the things that I do in my content. I know it would be better, but considering it was just taking the transcripts from my AI meeting notes inside of Notion with that client, I'm pretty happy with how it was able to put it directly into my content, and where I believe things like agents could be better actually suited for when you're wanting to do specific things like that. Next thing that I tested was actually using information from someone filling in an application form to work with me, and then creating tasks and a call that I'm going to have with that individual just based on that information. So what I'd asked it to do was create a call for me in my discovery call section, create a task for me to look over the application before we get started, and also inside of the call page, write some specific questions that would be good to ask this person to see if they would be a right fit. Again, what I would try to do was just push it a little bit further to see, is it capable of actually breaking down what types of questions I should be asking them just based on the settings that I've given it to look at. And again, it was actually able to perform pretty well in doing these. I was quite surprised how well it was able to do it in such a short space of time. Some of these might be pretty straightforward and pretty easy to begin with, but at the end of the day, most people aren't spending all of their time inside of AI agents and understanding them to this massive scale. They're probably just beginning in that process of AI and wanting to see, can this help me in any way actually better my business? I did then try to connect Slack, but it was actually then connecting to one of my client Slacks rather than my own. So it was a little bit of a mess up on my part when it comes to it, but it is able to search through your Slack messages and see everything that's going on to give you maybe more of an overview. And this is where I find, especially if you have some teams inside of Notion that are doing multiple different things and multiple different projects, this is going to become extremely powerful for what you're wanting to do, because you're going to be able to ask it how projects are coming along, how far along the tasks are getting done, how the OKRs or KPIs are coming along, even meeting notes from different clients that maybe you've not had a conversation with, but you want an overview. This is where it can come in really handy of being able to organize all of that information. So things like grab all of the call notes that George has had with this client so far and give me a summary so that when I'm on that call, it's as though I know and already understand what those clients' needs are. These things are what can become more powerful over time as you're building it into your existing systems, and where I feel something like the agents are really good. Obviously, there's limitations to anything when you're first starting out, and I think it's completely naive when you see people in these comments of the YouTube videos saying that it can't do everything that all these other platforms that are solely dedicated to AI agents can currently do. That's okay, that takes time, that's business, that's what it is. But I will say there are a few limitations that are here just now that I think are important to address, are important to understand, so that if you do dive into it further, you're going to know it's the case. Currently, the AI agents can't actually do things like the button clicks, it can't do things like the formulas, can't add things like your roll-ups directly into your databases. Now, if you saw my video 2 weeks ago on can AI actually build your full workspace, Notion AI itself is pretty good at doing that, and you'll be able to see some of the limitations that I ran into when I created that video. The agent itself as well is in one dedicated page, so you can't currently create multiple agents that can do different things. Instead, that's where the workaround of getting different agents inside of that settings page is going to be really important to do, is then it'll figure out which one is probably best for that. Next as well, and it's probably one that I would really want to see, is the ability to have automatic agents over time. So what I mean by that is maybe every week I want the agent to go in and collectively bring all of my summaries from my meetings that I've had with all of my clients and all of prospects throughout that week, and then give me some content ideas, give me problems that have consistently come up and give me some ways that you believe that I could improve my own business through what I've been talking with clients on. All of these collective things could be really powerful over time if we can actually get those added. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they're already working on actually bringing in automations with using AI agents. If that's the case, then again, Notion will continue to grow and become even better at what they're doing. As I know there's a few platforms that are already currently competing on these things to get them out, to get them live, and to get them working really well. If you've been keeping up to date with Notion as well, you would have saw that Granulalr Sharing has actually come into place inside of Notion now, meaning that you can host client portals or even give access to only specific rows in your databases to anyone that you want, as long as you're tagging them in the right function. It seems to be working pretty well to begin with. So I'll share a video in the next couple of weeks of actually building your own client portal directly inside of Notion, some of the benefits that you might find to doing that yourself. If you're wanting to help scaling your company through systems, I've got a newsletter that can help you do just that. It's the first link in the description. I know the video on the screen right now will be something you'll love to watch, and I'll see you there.